Imagine, as a kid, getting a bike for your birthday. You're excited, it looks just the way you wanted it too. It's got two big tires. And then, you go to give it a try. You get on, everything seems great, but then you start pedaling and you notice something seems off. A flat tire. Your parents got you a bike with a flat tire. Great. Oh, and you also notice the brakes. They're not working like they should be. Not reliable, keyword. That's the kind of bike biking is. And the kid crying to his parents about the bike sucking is what the Epic 7 community is doing to Smilegate about Biken, our first limited collab hero from the Guilty Gear franchise. Now, I didn't think she was in need of a buff. She's not bad, truthfully, but having tried both a damage variant and then a 230 CR pushing Biken, that Sonic bike, I've come to the conclusion that she needs a little extra oomph. So let's deconstruct why she needs some improvement. Let's also just ignore the fact that she's a limited collab character that people have been saving months to try to pull for. She's supposed to be extra special, right? But let's just ignore that and look at her as a normal 5-star. First off, her stats. She's Violet's twin in that they share the same stat line. Could this have been different? Yes. She should have been Judge Kisei's stats, 115 speed, with effectiveness and crit chance awakenings. Violet only gains 1 crit chance awakening and the rest is attack or HP, which doesn't help her kit. So what is her actual problem then? Well, her kit. It all boils down to her skills, which are a fusion between Karen and Surin, 4-star heroes. Okay, makes sense. Just like Dragon Ball, fusion between two people make the new form stronger than the combined both. So what's good about Karen? Well, she can gain a lot of turns after critting and using Rihanna, dishing out high damage by getting 3 to 6 turns sometimes and applying defense break. What's bad about Karen? She's hard to build and requires Rihanna to be that monster on top of needing 100% crit chance to function even remotely properly. Moving on to Surin, what's good about her? Well, she's fast and can apply a lot of bleed and attack down, and can extend all debuffs by an additional turn, on top of secretly having high damage due to high skill modifiers. What's bad about Surin? Bleeds suck. Everywhere, requiring effectiveness to work most of the time, and all her bleed debuffs tend to clog up the debuff bar, which has a limit on how many debuffs a target can have. So okay, now think about what I just said. Good, bad. Good, bad. As much as Biken benefits from the good of those heroes' skill sets, she also brings along the bad of them to her kit. This is her main problem. Skill 1, 45% chance to inflict 2 bleeds for 2 turns, and a crit lowers skill cooldowns by 1 turn. At plus 4 Molagora, the chance becomes 70% for the bleeds. Skill 2, this time a 55% base chance, but for 3 bleeds for 2 turns, and critting grants an extra turn. At plus 4, it's an 80% chance to proc those bleeds. Okay.
Damn right there!
Stop. First problem, she needs crit for those skills to be good. This is Karen's problem brought over to her kit. So she needs 100% crit chance. 85 if you only plan to use her against Banshee, but that in turn means she's trash against the other elements, so you need 100% crit. Her base crit chance is 23%, meaning you need 77% crit chance from everywhere else to reach it. Well, okay, 100% crit, not impossible to reach, and you generally should aim for 90% or higher anyways on most DPS, but here's where things get more difficult for her case. Bleed. Her entire kit, in order for her to be as good as people are trying to make her out to be, she needs to land those debuffs, because more than half of her damage from her S3 requires bleed to reach the numbers you're seeing people make videos about. But she gets 0% effectiveness from awakening, meaning you also need a lot of effectiveness on her gear. 55% for PvE is a must. Why? Her skills don't even reach 100% proc chance. S1 at 70%, S2 at 80? That's at max Mola. As if needing 100% crit and 55 effectiveness wasn't enough, you need to heavily invest Molagora into her S1 and S2 to become remotely reliable. Meanwhile, something as broken as ML Aura can AoE stun at 100% without any Mola needed, and a 45% chance for 3 burns each target at base value all in one skill. So over reliance on crit, over reliance on bleed, and over reliance on effectiveness, but bleed also scales with attack, so you need high attack. Add that to the list of conditions needed to be met. In PvP, if the target has immunity, she does nothing. At that point, every other 5-star DPS would be better than her.
Oh, I seen her kill Angelica with immunity.
Big deal. Put that same gear on Karin and she can snipe most units as well. If not more with her soul burn, since her soul burn modifier is higher. And she's a 4-star. And if this is a truly resist and immunity meta, as people are telling everyone about, then she doesn't stand much a chance. So I said, well, in that case, I'll try her out as a CR pusher, because critting pushes allies CR by 15% at base and 25% max, same as Ruzet. So I got her to 230 speed and she works nicely, since even with speed cutting her damage immensely, she'd still contribute more damage than Ruzet or Judith, but it's not by much, barely better. Those are also 3 stars, with speed imprints. She's a limited 5-star hero with attack imprint, and if used as a CR pusher, she's barely better? That's not good either. So she's better served as a secondary pusher for more damage, but you still gotta jump the hurdles with the 100% crit, the effectiveness to land the bleed, to do any kind of damage with her S3. So, how should they upgrade her? Well, it's pretty simple, and various ways to go about it without making her broken. First one, raise the effect chances of S1 and S2. S2 should be 100% at max Mola to land the bleeds, and S1 should be 85% at max. This will help landing those bleeds more reliably, which is a problem, reliability. Second way is to make a tag that lets the bleed ignore resistance. This is a bit more broken tier than the first, but it'll obviously let her do what she needs to do without high effectiveness investment. Third, change the S3 to detonate all bleeds on all enemies at the end of the turn. As of now, you have to hit the person with the bleeds to detonate them, and only their bleeds explode. So in many cases you hit with S2, bring them to about 40 to 50% HP, then go S3, but that means you're overkilling them by a lot. So with this third change, you could tag a person with 3 bleed stacks with S2, and then use S3 on another person and blow up the first guy while also damaging the second. So this would really help her out in the damage department. And the last way to improve her, which is what I'm hoping for, is by removing the crit chance requirement for all her skills. It really doesn't need to be there. Instead, we can get more into the blood theme. Swap out a critical hit for if the enemy is bleeding at the end of the turn, triggers the additional effect. Boom! Makes her vastly better for all levels of players, since you can focus on stacking effectiveness and attack instead of requiring to have high crit chance. And for the S3 to trigger the CR boost, you would have to have detonated bleeds using the S3. Pretty simple. So these are the upgrades I like to see for her. At least one of those, or maybe a combination of 2. At the moment, she's not unusable at the highest level, which is what you're seeing all the people yapping about, how she's OP or she's good enough or doesn't need to be buffed. But they're not in this point of the game. They have the gear, they have the Mola, they can reach those high requirements, but the average player base does not. A new player coming over because they heard about Baiken for the Guilty Gear collab, waifu, I'm gonna spend real money and play this game with her, yet they find out that she sucks compared to almost every other 5-star at that point of the game, and her damage isn't even impressive at the highest level compared to other single target DPS units with much less requirement like Luna or Sirmia. As of now, she's a high maintenance bike that's unreliable. That's the best way I can describe her. Smilegate has this Wednesday and the next to adjust her. That's their window, since if the banner goes away and then they adjust her after, people gon' rage. So we'll have to see what they do. If they don't buff her, then she'll just have to be one of the weaker 5-stars for top players and too high maintenance for newer players to handle. But what do you guys think? Does she need a buff? Let me know in the comments below. I'm working on a PvP team with her, but I need that Mola, because she's too inconsistent even with her Torn Sleeve artifact, which is practically required for her in PvP since any sort of extra bleed chance is needed to make her any sort of worth it. But yeah, if you like this style of review, even though it's mostly a rant, I might make one for Soul, which is not a crappy character. He's really good, but I might make it in this reviewing his stuff. If you guys want to see that from me, make sure to leave a like on the video if you want to see that. And of course, subscribe for more Epic 7 epicness.